Welcome to another RSR. Tonight I'm reviewing LAFC 2, St. Louis City SC 2, MLS 2025 Week 10, Domingo Futbolero. St. Louis thought they had a win. Twice. Denny Bouanga said no. Twice. LAFC, dos. St. Louis City SC, dos. MLS, Jornada 10, Domingo Futbolero, empate de la jornada. De la partido, 2-2 draw. It got very, very crazy at the end there. So I guess it is worth doing a review here because I was kind of questioning it with all the stuff I've done in all the early days. But hey, here we go. Halftime, 0-0. This is what made me worry. Nothing really happened the first half. Very sloppy on both ends. LAFC very sloppy. St. Louis very sloppy when they had a chance to clear the ball. LAFC did hem St. Louis in to the point that they were very lucky they did not give up a goal. And the fact it was 0-0 at the half. And frankly, for most of the second half until it got nuts, it was similar. But the first half, 0-0. St. Louis got hemmed in. LAFC was very sloppy, very unlucky not to score. St. Louis was lucky they didn't get scored on. And they go to the half 0-0. 0-0, medio tiempo. Not really a fair result. LAFC should have been up. But in the 52nd minute, amongst the being hemmed in, St. Louis breaks out. Horn crosses the ball in, does not get to Klaus. Falls to Teukert. He slots it past Hugo Lloris to make it 0-1. 0-1. Beautiful goal by Teukert. And St. Louis has the lead against the run of play. And you would think, well, LAFC's going to at least score one. They did. 71st minute, Denny Bouanga, Cengiz Ünder crosses it in. Denny Bouanga onside, just enough. Puts it past Ben Lunt. 71st minute, 1-1. 1-1. Not the prettiest goal, but it's a goal Bouanga obviously could score. They get it. They do get a penalty in between that and the St. Louis goal to tie it or take the lead later on. Bouanga has a penalty and gets saved by Ben Lunt. Ben Lunt probably made sure this was a draw, let's be real, because Thomas Ostrak is the guy who last kicks the ball for St. Louis off the Yakety Sax play in the box. Nielsen part of it, Betcher part of it. Nutty play. Betcher with a header, ball punched away, goes off somebody's back. Ordaz, it's an own goal for Nathan Ordaz, off his back, into the net. They give the goal. 89th minute, 1-2. They give it the 90-plus second minute. And it was a nutty play. But it does count. You could say that Tafari handballed it as it went in. So even if it got taken away, there should have at least been a penalty. But they kept the goal. Ordaz's own goal. 1-2. 1-2. St. Louis has the lead. But 90+5. Ünder plays it to Bouanga once again. Bouanga makes a run. Sits Girault on his ass. Pardon my French, but that's the best way to put it. Sits him on his rear end. Takes a shot. Bar down. Denny Bouanga ties it up. 90+5. 2-2. 2-2. Luckily for LA, they get that. Unluckily for St. Louis, they get two scored on them. But I'd say the draw was a fair result. Full time, 2-2. 2-2 esta noche. Fair result. Kind of wild at the end there. Red card, penalty, own goal. Bouanga with that amazing run. Wild ending. Crazy ending. But fair enough. I think it's fair for it to be a draw. Full-time stats are as follows. 23 shots to 11, 9 shots on goal to 6, 70% possession to 30% possession, 695 pass to 295, 87% pass accuracy to 75% pass accuracy, 10 fouls to 7, 0 offside to 1, 1 yellow card to 1, 0 red card to 1, 6 corners to 2. LAFC, I think they deserve better than a draw. I think St. Louis, sadly enough, gave it up. I can't say more than that. I think St. Louis blew it twice, to be real, when they easily could have won this match. They blew it with the first goal. Luckily, the penalty that LAFC had didn't go in. Could have been a hat trick for Bouanga, but he missed the penalty. Big save by Ben Lunt. Big ups to Ben Lunt. He had a pretty good game tonight, I have to say, which the sad part is he's not man of the match because Denny Bouanga single-handedly saved LAFC a point. Probably should have saved them all three, but, well, that's about what I expected. There's the Denny Bouanga I know. There's the LAFC I know. There they are. I was worried because they haven't been like this. But here they are. But Denny Bouanga had his moments tonight. So there you go. Man of the match, Denny Bouanga, because that was what I expected out of LAFC all year. They finally did it. Good for them. St. Louis, if it wasn't for him, it'd be Ben Lunt. It would be. It would. Because he legit made sure St. Louis got a point. He saved the penalty. There you go. Had a pretty solid game besides that as well, but Jesus Christ. Does St. Louis win this game if Berkey's in goal? Honestly, maybe not. I think maybe this was the best way to get the point at least, was Ben Lunt in goal, because that was a good penalty save. I didn't know he had that in his bag. But good for him. Wild. Of course, Morales got sent off for a second yellow later in the match, 83rd minute. And St. Louis still got one back, down a man. And that's probably why Bouanga made the run he did, because they were down a man. But in the end, fair result. I think all things considered, 2-2, fair result. St. Louis, I thought, played a game where they could have done better. They were very sloppy the first half, sloppy for a lot of the second. And there you go. There you go. That's exactly what happens. You play sloppy, you don't get all the points unless you're lucky. You play with fire, you're going to get burnt. Ask the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. When you play with fire, you get burnt. And that's simple. And that's what I think St. Louis did. LAFC were dominant tonight, especially until the first goal, and then until the game went off the rails. They were dominant. They were the better team. But St. Louis did enough, Ben Lunt specifically, to make sure this was a draw. You take it where you get it. 1 point each. It's LAFC. Historically, you take that and run. You take that and run. They may not be as good this year, but they're still historically LAFC. You take it and run. Take it to St. Louis and run. With that being said, LAFC probably should have won, though. Probably by 1. So luckily they didn't. With that being said, if you like this video, like it, share, subscribe. You know what it is. Tell your friends. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification once subscribed. Send some chats on the live streams. Comment on this video. Put this in playlist. Share with friends and family. All that great stuff. I will see you Tuesday for a live watch-along and review of Ottawa Senators versus Toronto Maple Leafs Game 5. No matter what, no matter how, I will be here for that because it's a possible clincher for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I will be here. Wednesday, Champions Cup, Canadian Championship double. Toronto FC versus CF Montreal, first round game. And Inter Miami, Vancouver Whitecaps, live. The 3 hours of those games going on at the same time. Well, Toronto Montreal starts first, then, of course. But live, we'll talk about them both on live. If Miami comes back, I'll add that to my review. If not, it'll just be the Toronto Montreal game for the review itself, because I will not touch on the Miami game if they don't come back, because that's fair. Thursday, if the Leafs go to a Game 6, I'll go live for it, and then I'll also be live for Tigres Cruz Azul's second leg. So both. If the Leafs don't go to 6, it's just Tigres Cruz Azul, but I kind of have to wait and see if that's how that plays out. So it seems to me like Wednesday, I'm still going to have to, well, at least Tuesday, I'm still going to have to make all the streams. If not, the Thursday, Friday, whatever. Friday, I will go live for Game 6 of the Winnipeg Jets St. Louis Blues series when St. Louis returns to the Scott Trade Center. to play Game 6. Will they be ahead? Will they be behind? Will they be playing for their life? Will they be playing to advance? We'll find out. Saturday, if the Leafs go to 7, well, first off, TFC plays on Saturday. We'll be live for that. And then if the Leafs go to 7, God help me if they do, we'll be live for Game 7 of that series. So next week could be busy. Next week could be quieter. Who knows? And Sunday, if the Blues go to 7, we'll be live for the Blues on Sunday. If not, I'll choose a football match because I think that probably would be a later game anyway. Unless the Leafs play on Sunday because the Tampa-Florida series ends quicker, then, well, there you go. Sunday, we'll see what happens. With that being said, that's what next week looks like. So Monday is an off day. Everything else, we got something. So with that being said, I will see you Tuesday. I'm Ryan and I'm out. Peace. See ya.